G'day everyone. Today we're going to do the much anticipated proximity chat tutorial. So before we get started, we're just going to have to refer to two quick figures here. So the first one, proximity chat equals more fun. I can't really deny that. That's just the truth. And so figure two, for anybody that doesn't understand what proximity chat is, we got player one here hanging out by himself, just doing whatever. And then player two comes along and then potentially tells player one to go and play another game. Right, so let's get started. So first we want to go to GodotSteam.com because you can't, you can sort of install a plugin for Godot that does the Steam stuff, but you're better off just downloading what's called the precompiles. So just go to GodotSteam.com, then up the top right we want to click on the GitHub link, and don't turn away just yet. Right down here we want to find the precompiles for multiplayer peer. So if you click on that, it'll take you to another page, and then on the right here we can click on releases. And so here you're going to see a whole bunch of stuff, but it's basically just the Godot version 4.3. S161 is the Steamworks version, so you can check out the Steam SDK and make sure that this is the version that you want. I think this is generally not the most up-to-date version, but it's up-to-date enough. This plugin, the precompiles, they update often enough. Steamworks 161 is just fine. And then you've got GodotSteam 4.12, which is obviously just the GodotSteam version. So down here as well, we've got Win64, which is the 64-bit version. For most users, you're going to want to click on this. You also want to download the multiplayer templates, but there's a lot of videos that'll go into detail about how to do that. Pretty much skip to. Once you're ready, open yourself a new project, and then we can get really started. So the good thing about the precompile as opposed to the asset lib Steam, which I'll just look up right now to show you. So make sure it's by Gramps. This is the man. Godot Steam extension. This is generally the one that you would install. So the difference between that and the version that we're running right now is that if we just create our Steam auto load. I'm just going to create this here. I'm going to call it Steam Manager, and you might have just seen that red text show up just then. I'll show you what that was talking about. Create a folder called scripts, open, we're going to create. So make sure it's on, and then open it up just by clicking on it there. So the big difference between this precompile is we've already got Steam imported as a module. So just like the plugin would do, except we've got extra functionality in here with the Steam multiplayer peer, which this is really the reason that we went to that Steam multiplayer peer precompile back here, because this is what we want. Okay, so that being said, so we're going to need to do a few Steam things here really quickly. So the first thing we want to do is var Steam app ID and equals 480. So this is Space War. This is like the test app ID. I'm going to get the Steam username. Equals nothing at the moment. And then get the Steam ID. Cool. So then a couple little lobby things we're going to add in here. So these are just for the lobby things. Lobby ID I think we need. Yeah, we don't want space now. Lobby members. I don't really think we need that, but we're just going to stick that in there anyway. So in ready, actually I think we need an init function here. Yeah, and then there we're going to set the Steam app ID string Steam app ID, and then Steam game ID. Let's Control Alt down as well to duplicate lines. And in the ready function, we need a get our callbacks. Actually, we're going to initialize Steam first. Then in process, we got one here. We need to Steam dot run callbacks, I believe. Cool. Now that we've done that, Steam should be initializing and loading in. Sweet. I guess next step is to actually get those details. So Steam ID equals steam.get Steam ID. And then we'll print the Steam ID. We may as well, just to make sure it's working. Maybe I shouldn't print mine while we test this. Steam username equals steam.get persona name. So we get their name on Steam, and we may as well print that. Beautiful. We can set up our signals later. We just need to get all of this set up. So that's our auto load. We actually need to have a main scene, and then we need to have players. So we should probably work on that now. So I'm just going to set up a quick scene. I'll call this main scene. Save it as scenes. Call this main scene. And we'll add the script to it early. May as well. Put it in scripts. Main scene. Cool. So we've got something else to work with. And what should we do? Okay, so we'll go CSG box. I find these work a lot better as floors generally than just a quad would, because sometimes you fall through the ground. It's really stupid. So I'm not going to put what do you call it? A jolt on or anything crazy like that. We're just going to make a big box. We're going to use collisions. Collision layer 1, yep. So we'll call that world. Get into the habit of doing this as well. It's a really good habit to be doing. I think players, maybe on 2. And then maybe like rigid bodies. I guess we're not even really going to use that. I just like to be prepared, in advance. So as well, the visual instance here, we're going to go world. And then we're probably going to put the players on 2. I like to just split them up just in case I start using decals or something to keep it away from the world. So now that we've got that, we may as well import some textures. So textures, cool. So I like this concrete texture. Just going to quickly do a triplanar on it. Probably should use like a sample UV texture, but I don't want to. I like this one. This one shows the ground, which is all I want. To turn the specular down generally. We're also probably going to need an environment, so we'll do it the easy way. Bang and bang, right click, reparent to new nodes. We just choose a regular node because the position doesn't matter for these nodes. They're just environment. Maybe we'll make it look a little bit nicer. I just don't like that brown ground. It's just so ugly. Just something a little bit nicer. Like yeah, go on. And then the horizon, we'll do some like crazy blue. In the sky, let's get like something nuts in there. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful. Fantastic. It'll do for now. Looks like the toxic gas from that Spider-Man game for the PS1 between the buildings. So we're gonna just make this a little bit bigger. About half. Cool. So that's the world for now. We're also probably going to need to create a node for where the players spawn in. So node, I always do that. I start typing when I go to type the node name in. We call that players, and then we're going to create a multiplayer spawner. I'm going to call that player spawner. Cool, we're going to need to attach a script to that, but we'll figure that out. We also need to create our players, so we're not going to mess around too much with that. Just yet. Yeah, because I mean, we're going to need to spawn an element. Yeah, Spawn path, well, we'll just go to players for now. Multiplayer spawner, yep. So we need to add a script to that. But we're going to do that. Yeah, we'll do that now. May as well. So we'll create the script, player spawner and scripts. Alright, let's just type this out. Export var player scene, and this is where we're going to actually add the player scene in. So we'll work on that next, right after we do the world. And I think that's all we're really going to need. It's just the world, the players, and then Steam spawning stuff in naturally with the Steam multiplayer peer. So spawn function equals spawn player, and we're going to need to add that down here. I guess data. We'll pass that for now. Spawn function. So this is like inheriting the multiplayer spawner class or node, whatever you want to call it. I'm still kind of new to Godot. I've been using it for the last like maybe year and a half, almost. But by far the best. The best thing about Godot is the way it connects with Steam. It's just so easy. So spawn, we're also going to need that. It's going to link into itself, so it's going to run its own spawn function, which is, where is it? It's around here somewhere. That's the other great thing about Godot, is having the IDE in and being able to just go to the documentation. It's just so great. And then we're probably going to need here disconnected. We're going to need to create a function for that. We'll call it remove player. And then spawn the host, right? L. So we want to call defer this as well. Spawn host. So we'll start with that actually. If is multiplayer authority. Come on. Oh, it says is. That's why. Multiplayer authority. Spawn one. That's us. So spawn host. Defer me, right? Yeah, because we need to defer that. Cool. So remove player as well is another one that we need, as well as spawn player. So I'll just chuck this up here for the meantime. It's Alt and up to move stuff around, by the way. You just choose the lines. A lot of cool little keyboard things. Oh, on spawn player, remove player data, I suppose. There we go. Players data dot q free, I think. Players.data.queue_free, and then players.erase data, because that's going to be the player in there. Spawn player, so equals player scene dot instantiate p.set multiplayer authority data. Oh, not the two brackets. Players data dot no equals p, and I'll return p. Players. Cool. Spawn. So we've got a ready spawn host, spawn player, remove player. I think that's actually going to be it for this. So we'll just leave that one there. go back to the main scene. And then we need to create our player. So it's probably going to be a character body 3D. Cool. So this is where it starts to get interesting. Call this player. So stop starting as well, just to save you a little bit of time while I get a reference on this stuff. We want to save a branch as scene as the player. Into scenes, call it player. And then we want to open that. Cool. So everything's all zeroed out. Perfect. Then we want to add a script. Scripts, add script player. Oh, and it's given us this. Oh, that's cool for now. Yeah, just so we can move around and stuff. Maybe we should see what that looks like actually. No shapes. We're going to need to add a collision shape to it. And just make sure it's like a bean or something. We're going to need to add 0.25, I usually do, and then 1.8. Move this up by 0.9. That's usually where I've got my stuff, and then I'll add a camera up to 1.5-ish. Area I like to usually have it, and then I'll just push it forward a little bit. Sometimes it's a little bit janky having it right on the circle. Well, usually I'd add in a neck as well, but screw it, we'll just keep it there. That will do. Now on that script, we're going to need to, we've got to figure out where the camera is. Probably export the player name. String equals new player. I'll call him, I don't know, Larry. I'll do. Hopefully we don't see Larry, but we might. And we're gonna want the Steam ID. Yeah, Steam ID. Equals 0 for now. Maybe we'll put a player label on top of him as well. So a label 3D. And this will just say Larry on it for now. Yeah, we might need to change the direction that the camera goes. Just, you know how it works with the Z and moving forward. And which way it prefers forward to be, because it might even be going back that way. So the camera might be in the wrong direction, but we'll find out. Cool, so we've got Larry in here. And I make sure that it's lowercase there and then uppercase here, just so I can tell if it's being set through the code or if it's a default and not being set at all. Cool, so those couple of things. Awesome. Cool, so I'm thinking I should be able to run this and check. Select current. No. Control Alt Shift S to save all scenes. Hit play here, select current. Let's see what we get. Oh, of course, yeah. So this is going to break right now because the player spawner, we don't want that in just yet. How about that? Okay, so forward, yep, okay, forward's working. Awesome, so this is going to be our players, I guess. Maybe we should add a key for turning because I really don't want to have it linked up to my mouse right now. But anyway, that'll do for now. I suppose it'll give us the spatial awareness that we need for proximity chat to work. And we fall off the end. Cool, awesome. Now we can put that script back on. We're going to delete player. Now we're going to just add player directly to our multiplayer spawner, so the scene, which is awesome. We might also add a spawn position, so a marker 3D. Just have it like here. So we'll call that spawn position. So we're probably going to want that in the main scene as well. Yeah, probably. Cool. Now, as you'll see, because of that player spawner, having the player scene in there. If we then go play the game, we spawn in, even though, yeah, it wasn't, the player isn't actually anywhere in there, which is awesome. So if we move that player spawner, we can't move the player spawner. So it's just spawning at position 0, 0, 0, and that's why we've got the spawn position thing here, but I think that's probably only going to work for the peers for now, but we'll figure it out later. It's just good to have that reference early. Cool, so another thing we have to do is back in our Steam Manager, I want to create our peer here. So I like to do it this way because I ran into a crash when I don't do it this way. So we initialize our Steam. Well, we have like a reference to the Steam multiplayer here, basically. Cool. So basically, we just keep one for now. At least that's the way that we're going to test it. But right now, we might have to come back to that. Cool. So now that that's done, we basically need to set up a lobby and then connect another player into that lobby. And then that should spawn in another player. So I suppose, first of all, we've got to actually get, I mean, it's just going to be a flying around name for right now. So we're going to have to add in some sort of mesh instance 3D. So we're going to go capsule 0.25, 1.8, and then lift it up by 0.9. Cool. Just so it's in the same area. And now this should be able to still see through that, just because of the material not having back faces on by default. Sweet as, so that should do. Just make it a little bit more janky, just for funsies. A little bit like that. Why not? Not like it matters. 2, alright, there we go. It's basically like a, no, we'll go 3. 5 here, and then 2 there. Yeah, alright, perfect. Cool. So, actually, we've also got to add our audio stream player 3D. And we are going to call that one, what should we call it? Prox network and prox local probably. So we're going to have a loop back just for ourselves. And that's basically part of the tutorial that you learn here for voice in Godot. This is where I'm getting all of my information from, as well as 2 tutorials by Gwizz that talk about networking, peer-to-peer functions. Cool, and I believe those need to be audio stream generators, both of them. So now we can either look at the player script here for the voice chat, or we can do the lobby stuff. And I think we should probably do the lobby stuff first, just for ease and continuity, I guess. So we're going to create a button on the interface in the main scene. So we'll add our control. We'll call this the multiplayer UI. So what do we need to have? We've got to have a, we'll just do a HBox container for now, and then we'll add some buttons in. So we'll have one for host, call this one host button. Have another one for join. That should do for now. So that join button is actually going to be like a lobbies button. So when you click on it, it should load up some lobbies. So then we've got to have a VBox and put this inside of that. What do we have in there? It's a scroll container with a list of lobbies inside of that. So we're going to add a VBox container as well, and make that full size. So this entire area, we'll just make sure that it's big enough. So 500 by 300, that'll do. And then we make this overlay not mess with the mouse in game, but not that it's really going to matter that much. But you could go mouse ignore, And then also we could do this expansion stuff. Where is it? It's layout, container sizing, expand. I guess it really doesn't matter. So then here, I guess if we start adding buttons, because this is what it's going to look like. Blah 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 server, blah 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 server. Yep, so we've got to expand this. So this is going to say hello's server, and then we'll have, you know, 1 out of 2 people. So it'll look something like that. We're just going to have a little list pop up there. So we need the scroll container so we can scroll through the entire list of lobbies. So we'll call this one lobbies list. This one lobbies scroll container. We can leave these buttons in here. 6 out of 9, yeah. 4 out of 20. So we can leave these in here for now because every time you hit that join button, it's going to refresh this list anyway. We're going to see a whole bunch of servers pop up anyway because we're using app ID number 480, which is Space War. Woo. So I didn't realize this is an actual real game. Damn, maybe I should play Space War sometime. Cool, so now that we're in here, we're going to up here equals Steam multiplayer peer, and then we're going to go here equals Steam manager dot peer, just to make sure that we're all sussed out, because the peers shouldn't change. I've had issues, yeah, opening and closing peers. If we just have one peer and we can connect and disconnect, the whole thing runs a lot smoother. Instead of getting hung up, like not quitting from lobbies and stuff like that. So we're going to add some signals in here. We're going to attach some signals, I should say, some functions for host button, join. We're going to need a reference to the lobbies list. Yep, so on join buttons, so first of all, we're going to go var lobbies buttons equals lobbies list dot get children, and then we go for I and lobbies button buttons i.q3. So that just gets rid of those buttons, those test buttons, but also it'll refresh essentially every time we hit join the lobbies. So the host button, it should be quite easy because we're setting the peer. We're going to go, well, we've got lobby ID as well as one that we're going to use. So var lobby ID equals -1. I'll just go 0. Lobby created. Bool equals false. So if not lobby created, or if lobby created, I should say, we return. I got a really bad habit of leaving my cursor over where I'm typing as well. If lobby created, return. Else, we don't need to do else, do we? Because we've got the return. So peer dot create lobby Steam multiplayer peer dot, and this is the lobby type public, and then we go multiplayer peer equals peer. Awesome, so that's going to create us a lobby, and now we need to find those. We've got to find the lobbies, so the next thing we have to do is open up a lobby list. But first of all, we have to peer.lobby created. So we've got to actually set the details of the lobby. Connect, so on lobby created, I'm going to need to create that function. on lobby created. So what do we get in that? I think we get it's like a lobby ID, so it's a connect. Lobby created, it's this here, connect and lobby int. Cool, so we'll slap that there. On lobby created, so if connect, lobby ID equals, well, this lobby ID, so it's this one. We're gonna need to do that. Lobby ID, and then we go Steam dot set lobby data lobby ID. Name? Yeah, name, I think it is. Yeah, it is, yep. Steam dot get persona name, or I suppose we could do Steam manager dot Steam username plus lobby. There we go. Just using the frickin' inverted commas. Set lobby data. And we need to set the lobby as joinable. Yep. So lobby ID and true. And then we go Steam manager dot lobby ID equals lobby ID. And we do have that in here, don't we? We do have a lobby ID. Cool. And we've got is lobby host as well. So we should probably set that as well. Is lobby host equals true. Not sure if we're going to use that later, but we'll add it in there for now anyway. Cool. So we've created the lobby, and now the lobby is ours. We're already spawned in. Yep, we're already spawned in. We need to have an on joined as well. So here dot no, it won't. It'll be like a So I guess we should just start with the lobby button. So that's going to be on join. So right down about here, we can get to start writing some code. So here we want to open lobby list. So basically we're going to find out what lobbies are actually open. So we'll just stick this in here. Open a lobby list. We go steam.add request lobby list distance filter. Yep. So we're just going to set that to worldwide. So it's everyone. That's a good way to do matchmaking as well. You find a server that's close. If you can't, you find another server. You check how many people are in the server and if there's space for you. It's a really easy way to do matchmaking. Request lobby list. So this is what we want, if we spell it right. And then we're going to wait for a callback from Steam, which is, I think it's Steam lobby match list. Yeah, that's it. So back here we're going to go steam.lobby match list.connect on lobby match list. So once we get back a list of lobbies, that's what that is. So down here, on match lobby list, we need to figure out what we get back from that. So it's just lobbies as array, lobby match list. Yeah, lobbies as an array, cool. Awesome, so on match lobby list. Here's where it gets fun. I think it's called lobbies list. Yeah, lobbies list. So that's our list of lobbies right here. So now we need to populate that with like little buttons that we can press that'll join a function called join lobby. And then I guess, what was that? Join lobby. And then we'll have the lobby ID in here. think that's how it works anyway. On match lobby list. So we iterate through the lobbies for lobby in lobbies. Lobby name equals steam.get lobby data lobby and name. Member count and max players. I guess that's what we want. Get num lobby members. Get lobby member limit. Lobby members. And this one will be get lobby member limit. Yep, so we figure out how many people are in the server and how many people are allowed to be in the server. So the member count, and then we've got max players. Cool, and I'm going to create a little button. So var button.new, and this little button is going to be created for every single lobby it finds. So we'll just zoom this in a little bit more. But.text, or set text, sorry. What are we going to do? We're going to do, not with the curlies first, we're going to do that. Do the curlies on 0, and then 1/2, right? Dot format. We'll make an array. Lobby name. Member count. And max players. Cool. So that should just create a nice little representation of it. So then but.set size. We'll just give it a minimum size. I don't think this is really going to matter, but we'll give it a minimum size of 600 by 100. Maybe 500 by 100. I think we've only got. We'll make it 400 by 50. How's that? So but.pressed.connect join lobby, and then we're going to bind the information to this name of the lobby, and then lobby. Finally, lobbies list. Add child. But there we go. So we should get a button for every single lobby that shows up. And that might actually work now. Let's give it a go. So if we go join, we're going to see all of these different lobbies. And so these are the Space War lobbies. These are other people testing Space War. So we don't need to use that for now, but that's going to be good for debugging very soon. So we can already walk around. As you can see, the players already spawned in. But because we've got Steam signals connected to our spawn, player spawn, we should see, yep, we should see players spawning in. We're going to do a little bit of work to change the name from Larry to their actual Steam name, but it's going to involve like a little bit of a handshake and stuff like that, but we'll get around to it. Let's continue going. So join lobby is where we're up to. Now join lobby is quite easy. We've just got to go peer.connect lobby, and then we put in the lobby ID that we've got here. But we've also got to set the multiplayer peer in Godot. Equals peer, yeah. And then lobby ID, because we've done this for the server, equals lobby ID. Yep. And I guess at some point we do need to hide that menu. So we'll create a little function called hide menu. And that's just going to be the multiplayer UI. I'm just going to hide that. .hide. Cool, so hide that for now. We'll put that there. And then also, once we've created the lobby, on lobby created, we're going to hide the menu as well. So let's just see what happens when we do that. We're going to host, and bam. So Now that that's gone away, it means that we've gotten the signal back from Steam saying that the lobby's been created, which is great. So if we were to load up another instance, which I don't ever do this because it seems to never work because of Steam. But let's say if we host here and then we join here, look, our lobby's actually here. So let's see what happens if we try and join. I don't think it's going to join because we're on the same Steam ID. And there should be an issue somewhere. Look, you cannot add a peer that is you. So somewhere on the Steam network, they're figuring out that I've got two computers connected to the same Steam ID, trying to connect into the same lobby, and it's saying no. And that's like a hard stop on their end. So if you don't want this to happen, you have to have another computer, which thankfully I do, where we can send this over to it to get things working. So I'm just going to have another little once over my code before I export it, and then we'll see how it goes on two computers. Cool, so screw it, we're just going to try it, see what happens. Here you want to add in your templates. So I'm just going to add them in here in release and debug, I suppose. So I've got mine here. I think I chose debug just then. So I'm going to find inside the templates, the debug one. I'm going to open that, and then in release, I'm going to do the one without the word debug in it. Okay, come on. I think actually we're having that graphical glitch that happens sometimes. You can see it in the background, yep. So our debug, and then we want our release. It's just taking me to the wrong folder, that's all. So that's going to be this one. Now that we've got both of those in there, this should export fine. Also procs chat here. I'm going to do builds, and then I'm going to add another one, procs chat. And then in here, procs chat project.exe. Yeah, screw it, that'll do. And then we'll wait for it to export. Cool. We'll see if that worked. Cool. So another thing is we need to have the Steam API 64 next to it, or it's not going to work. Alright, beautiful. So I've just tested that. Bam. Join. Yeah, okay. So we've got Steam connection through the exe. That's pretty important. If you're not getting that join working now, debug right now, because it's a big deal from this point on. And generally, it's just because of that Steam API 64 DLL. Cool, so let's see if this is going to work multiplayer. I've just got it set up on another computer real quick. Let's see how we go. So I'm going to host, take a step back, then on this one I'm going to join. And we're in, but we can't see anything. Interesting. Okay. Okay, I think we need to make a couple changes to our player. So the first thing is if not multiplayer authority, then we just return here. So that's just to ensure that it doesn't mess around with anything. So we don't have any input here. Function ready, we're probably going to need to add a ready function here. Func ready. Yeah, there's going to need to be a lot of things in here, but the first thing we'll do is add to group players. Yeah, add to group players, that'll do. Yep, we just need to make sure that the players are spawning in before we can do the proximity chat stuff. Makes sense, right? Cool, and then we'll go if is multiplayer authority. Then we can go, I suppose, we get the camera 3D and we can set that as current. Set current. I think that's how you do it. Yep, set current. Oh, set current true. Interesting. It's a strange way to do it. Okay. Set current true. What else do we need to do? We're gonna go player name equals steam.get persona name, or we can go our Steam manager dot Steam username. Yep. And then the Steam ID equals Steam manager dot Steam ID. And then we'll go else Steam ID equals multiplayer dot multiplayer peer dot get Steam 64 from peer ID get multiplayer authority. Yep, cool. And then player name equals Steam dot get friend persona name Steam ID. So this will work for now. I mean, in the future, you probably should just send your name over, but this will work for now, just for friends. Player name label. Whoa, what do we call that? Yeah, we want to call that the player name label. It's good we didn't bring it in yet. Player name label dot set. Oh, just go text equals player name. And then we can go. I think that's it really for our player for right now. And we'll see how that goes. Cool, so I think it's spawning in now. What we're gonna do is change that camera to not be current now that we've got it going through code. It's probably gonna cause issues in the future. And we've also got to add another amazing node that we get to use without any plugins or whatever with the Steam multiplayer, which is the multiplayer synchronizer. So this saves you so much work in RPCs. All we're going to do is get the player. We're going to synchronize the player's position. We're going to synchronize any of this. Yeah, probably not. The position. Even though we don't have any rotation yet, we're just going to get on top of it now. And do we have what sort of velocity? I guess it doesn't matter. This will do for now. So just position and rotation. We're just going to keep it on always for now. Generally, you should put it on change, but that's a case-by-case basis. So we're going to see what that looks like. I'm just going to export that again, and I'm going to get this running on my other computer real quick. See what it looks like. Alright, fantastic. So I was able to load in. Got the other player's name showing up backwards, but it doesn't matter. So we're both moving around. I am just going to check that I can see him on my screen. And it looks like I can't, but it doesn't really matter right now. This is a start. That's really cool. Very good. Cool. So to get the host to actually spawn in at the right time, we've got to wait until the server is created before we spawn the host. So I'm going to go to the main scene and pull in the player spawner. Hold down Control. Bring it in as a variable. And now we're going to go to onLobby created. And then go player spawner dot spawn host. Cool. And so once the game's actually been created, then we spawn the host in, and then it should sync with the client. So we're just going to test that real quick. Cool. So let's just test this. I'm going to host here. I'm going to join on my laptop. And then we should see him spawn in and move around. And then on my laptop, you can then see the host moving around too. Cool, okay, it definitely works. I wasn't sure for a second there. We're definitely getting synchronization on both sides. Awesome. Cool, so the video's been quite long so far setting this up, but it's because we need all of these things to be working, which is the world, the players, lobbies is set up, the sync nodes are now working, and so now we've got to focus on the P2P and the prox chat, which go hand in hand. So back in the Steam Manager, we're actually going to add quite a lot of code. It's mainly to facilitate for the peer-to-peer stuff. And then through that, we can work in handling the proximity chat data through the peer-to-peer calls. So here we go. We're going to add var, or actually it's a constant, packet read limit, we integer 32. And then we need to add in some signals. So we've got steam.lobbyjoined.connect on lobby joined. We'll add that soon. And then we've got to add steam.p2p session request .connect. It'll be on P2P session request. Again, Gwizz has a really good tutorial on peer-to-peer stuff for Steam, so if you want a little bit more detail, go check that out. Now we're going to create our func on lobby joined. So that's this lobby ID. Permissions. And we got locked. Response. Let me go if response chat tomb. Response success. Then lobby ID equals this lobby ID. And then we're going to add in a couple more little functions here. But first, I'm going to do this on P2P session request. Go func P2P session request, and then it's just the remote ID. And then we just want to go steam.accept P2P session with user remote ID. Cool. So we'll go back to this on lobby joined, and then we want to do get lobby members and make P2P handshake. So then we'll make those two functions. We've got func make P2P handshake, which would just be send P2P packet, which we need to create another one. Inspect, we'll just do that one first. Get rid of lobby members, P2P handshake. We'll just put pass here for now. Func, send P2P packet. This target. Where are my fingers? Send type. Int equals 0 for now. And then we want to go var channel. This data is a packed byte array. This data dot append array var to bytes. Packet data. And if this target 0 if lobby members dot size greater than 1 member lobby members if member Steam ID equals to Steam ID. Let's get a little bit of space here. Steam.send P2P packet member Steam ID this data send type and channel. Cool. So then we'd be like LF this target equals 1, which is going to be the other packet type, which is actually our voice. If this target equals Steam, so probably just going to, I mean these should be the same, but yeah, we're just going to do this for now, just brute force it, because I think I had some issues with this before, and we're not going to screw around. Send P2P packet, whoop, this target, this data, send type, and channel. Cool, so that's our send P2P packet function. Like I said, go check out Gwizz if you want a little bit more information on it. I think this was in this second multiplayer tutorial, one of the more recent ones actually. So then we're going to do the get lobby members. I'll write that one down here, func get lobby members. And that's just going to be clearing first of all the lobby members. Var num of lobby members. Get the amount, steam dot get num lobby members, yep, and then we put a lobby ID in. And then now that we've got the number, member in range 0 to num lobby members. And we just had a big cat rock up to my house. Yeah, thanks Alexa, I can hear that. Cool, steam dot get lobby member by index. Lobby ID and then member. Member. Var a member Steam name. String equals Steam dot get friend persona name. Like I said, this will work for now, but you're probably going to want to not rely on this in the future, especially for people that aren't your friends. Dot append. Like I said, it'll work for now. Steam ID. Remember, there's a damn big cat. Steam name, we're gonna want as well. Remember, Steam name. Cool. And then we want to make the peer-to-peer handshake. Make P2P handshake. One's gonna be easy. It's just send peer-to-peer packet. I want 0, and then message. The word handshake. Handshake, yup. Steam ID. And then the Steam ID. And then we want username. And that will be the Steam username. And just like that. That should be good. Yup, just like that. And while we're at it, we may as well add our voice peer-to-peer function here. So we'll just call it send voice data. So then we go voice data, is a packed byte array. Yep, I think that should do, yep. And then we do the same thing as we do here. Remember, it's Alt Control down to copy. Change that to 1. Change this to voice data. Make that voice data there as the input. And then we can keep the rest of it the same. Awesome. So then we need to read the peer-to-peer messages. So we want to go up to process, and then before the Steam callbacks, we want to do if lobby ID is greater than 0, then read all P2P message packets. And then we're also going to read all P2P voice packets. Yeah, voice packets. Cool. So then we've got to make these two functions. So we're going to start with read all peer-to-peer message packets. And then that's going to be read count equals 0. If read count is greater than or equal to packet read limit, and return, because it's over the limit. If steam.get available P2P packet size is greater than 0, just get a little bit of space here. We want to read P2P message packet. We're going to have to create that too. And then we'll do read all P2P message packets, and then read count +1. So read peer-to-peer message packet. But we're also going to do the same for the voice packets as well. We may as well just do that now. Packet size 1, so that's on channel 1, and it should be the same, more or less. It should pretty much be the same, except here we want to have voice packet, message packet. So then we can create that function here. Message packet, yup. So var packet size in equals steam.get available on channel 0. Packet size is greater than 0. I'll go var this packet dictionary equals steam.read P2P packet packet size, and then on channel 0, then sender equals this packet remote Steam ID of our packet code is a packed byte array equals this packet data var readable to data dictionary. I need to convert that from bytes. Packet code, yep. If readable data dot has message, then we want to match. You know I love my match message. And if that's the handshake that we set from before, then print player readable data username here space has joined. There we go. And an exclamation mark just for fun. And then we want to get the lobby members there. Cool. So then we need to do the same, but we have to do it for the peer-to-peer packets. So again, this goes back to this tutorial. And a lot of that stuff is in here, but then there's a lot of stuff that we need to add to the player as well. So we're just going to continue along here, which is the read peer-to-peer voice packet. And then we're going to go the same as before, packet size. If it's more than that, then so we go up to here, change that to 1 because we're on channel 1. And then we're going to want to change this one as well because we're on channel 1. We don't want to mix our voice peer-to-peer packet stuff with anything else, any of the messages, or what else we want to put on channel 0, which is the default. So we'll just do all our voice on channel 1. And then we want to get the packet sender, the readable data as well, and the code. So all of that looks pretty good. Then we go if readable data has voice data, then print reading. Go readable data username. Voice data, just for testing, so we can see if we're actually reading the voice data or not. So var players in scene, and so we're going to need to get a reference to all the players in the scene, and then we're going to want to send our voice data to that player. And we're talking about the actual instance of the player because the proximity chat is going to come from the player itself. So we're going to find that now. Those in group players. And then for player, in players in scene, I'm going to need to check. So if player.steam ID equals packet sender, then player.process voice data. Readable, so we don't have that yet. We're going to need to make that. Readable data, and then network. So it's not local, it's network. So like I said, it goes back to that tutorial about how to actually process this voice data. But this tutorial doesn't really finish what to do with it. It gets to the local sort of loop back, but it's what you do else if voice source equals network. So we're creating that network here. And we're going to copy this as well, but we're going to turn local loop back off because we don't really need it. And that's just being able to hear your own voice from your player in game. And then from there, else pass, I think, just for now. Otherwise, we can put in, some sort of error checking or something there. Cool. So I think that's most of the hard work done in there for the voice stuff. We've just got to make it work. So first of all, we've got to create this process voice data function over in the player. So func process voice data, and that's going to be voice data, the dictionary, voice source, which we're going to have in there as network or local. I'll just avoid that, why not? We'll pass that for now. So as long as that's in there, we then need to have a function for recording the voice. So record voice, we'll do that just now. We'll have to set up a button for it as well. Is recording, work that into the logic, avoid that too. Steam, set in game voice speaking. Steam manager, and then we get the Steam ID. And then is recording. And then we'll go is recording, we'll handle that somewhere else, and then go steam dot start voice recording. Easy as that. I wish. Well, let's get the rest of it done. Stop voice recording. Cool. So there is a little bit of a delay, I think, in that stop voice recording. You can read it in the docs. I think it's because most people let go of the recording button before they're done actually talking. So I'm not sure how long it is. I think it's like half a second or something. But it's something interesting I found in the docs anyway. And before we can make the process voice data, we've actually got to come up to the top and add a bunch of variables in there. So most of this, I'm pretty sure you can just pinch from here. In fact, that's just what we're going to do now, but it needs a little bit of work. So this pool byte array, you'll notice, needs to be changed to the packed byte array. I'm not sure why the document, I guess they just didn't realize, but either way, you've got to switch that over. So what's that? The current sample rate, loopback, local playback, and so the loopback we're just going to keep on false. We don't care about that for now. And now that we've got that, we can actually do the process voice function, but we've also got to add in somehow a key to actually record your voice. So I'll just go func input here, input event, and then we can add something in there for it. So what's our voice recording button? Voice record. Then we're going to add that in there, and then we'll put it on the letter V. V for voice. Remember that one. Cool. So first things first, we want to if is multiplayer authority and return. And then further down, we're going to need to add the prox chat stuff. So this will be if input dot is action just pressed. And what do we call it? Voice record. Voice record, yep. Then record voice equals true. Well, record voice true. Else elif. And that's going to be on the release. Just release the voice record. And I'm going to set that to false. Cool, so we won't really have any visual way of checking that for now, but we'll be able to hear it, and that's good enough. So first we need to create a check for voice function. So it's just going to check for, it's running like a Steam get available voice, but we've got to actually put it somewhere. So where's our process? I don't think we have process just yet. So we'll go func process, and then if is multiplayer authority. Get used to typing that into your player functions. Going to check for voice. Yeah, and sometimes I like to put the move and slide right here as well. Just so the physics are processed here, but it's happened like every frame. It's kind of cool, but I'm not going to do it here. Check for voice. So now we've got to create that function. So func check for voice. And then we're going to void that. And we go for available voices. So we're going to get this from Steam, or available voice equals Steam dot get available voice. Yep, and we're going to call that. So if available voice result equals Steam dot voice result voicer voice result okay, and available voice buffer 2f's wrong spot is greater than 0. Then for voice data dictionary equals Steam dot get voice. And if voice data result equals Steam voice result. Okay. Yeah, same one. And then we go Steam manager. Just send the voice data. So we're finally sending the voice data. Buffer. So sending the buffer from the voice data that we're getting from Steam if has loopback. So not that we have it, but we go process, voice data, we go voice data, and local. Cool, so that's our loopback. So if we wanted to hear our own voice on our own computer, but we have that turned off at the moment, so that's not going to do anything. Cool, so that's sending the voice data. And then we need to process the voice data. So that's going to be a little bit more complicated, but we'll just get started. So we've got to get the sample rate. That's the first thing that we have to do. So we've got to create that function real quick. So we'll do this down the bottom. Func get sample rate is toggled equals true. And that's a void as well. So if is toggled, then we go current sample rate, which is something we've declared at the top, equals steam dot get voice optimal sample rate. So this is one thing that they recommend that you do if you don't want it to sound like really robot-y. And then we go the current sample rate equals 4800 just in case. Set it back to normal. So now we've got this stuff at the top, which is our stuff here, but we've got to actually add a little bit more in, which is yeah, we'll figure this out. Cool. So I guess we've got to actually set the sample rate of our audio players. So we've got prox network and prox local, and they're going to be in the same position. We'll set that up a little bit higher so it comes from around the face, maybe from around the mouth even, where you can actually see them from. Yeah, that'll do. Cool, and then we're going to drag that in so we've got a reference to it. Now prox network and prox local, we can come back down to here. Remember, we've got generators on these. So on the get sample rate here, we can go prox network and prox local dot, and so you can hold alt by the way to type in more than one place at once. Dot stream dot mix rate equals current sample rate. Cool. And then we could print the current sample rate, but we don't have to right now. Just it should just work. Cool. So we've got a current sample rate. You know, what's called process voice data. Cool. So that's the first step. Let's get the rest of this done. So var decompress voice. We've got to decompress it. Dictionary. If voice source equals, we'll start with local. Decompressed voice equals steam dot decompress voice. We want to put the voice data in here and get the buffer and add the current sample rate. Cool, so that's the decompressing voice function. Really good for Steam, really cool. So then we need to check if it's network. I'm going to do a buffer with 2 Fs in the right spots. Thank you very much. Local, no, well this is the local buffer, so this actually needs to be the voice data from the packet. And current sample rate, yep, because we've actually sent that, remember, from earlier into this player to process the voice data with network. Cool. And so that was done with a voice data. Yep, from before. Cool. So process voice data. Now the next thing we've got to do, decompressed voice result equals steam dot voice result. Okay. And decompressed voice uncompressed size. So we've got to get the move that decompressed voice uncompressed dot size is greater than 0. Then we can move on. So what's going on here? Is this alright? Okay, yeah, this is cool. Yeah, alright, it's just breaking because we're getting ahead. So then we can move on. So if voice source equals local, right, then we can do the local loop back, which is basically what they show you how to do, or what Gramps shows you how to do here. So we're essentially just going to type this out. Yeah, we just type it out. Yeah, why not? Because I think we've actually made some changes. Local voice buffer equals decompressed voice uncompressed. Uncompressed, yep. And then local voice buffer, we need resized. Decompressed voice uncompressed dot size. Huh. Thank you. Local voice buffer. Alright, now here comes the complicated shit. So I int in range 0 to mini local playback dot get frames available times 2 local voice buffer dot size and then 2. So that should work just here, and then if we pass that, make sure we've got no errors. 2 but received 3. Okay, what's going on here? I think we needed to put that there and this here. Yep, there we go. Thought we were going to have issues there. Raw value. Int equals local voice buffer 0. Pipe it. Local voice buffer. Number 1. And then give it one of these. And then raw value equals raw value plus a bunch of magic numbers and 0x FFFF doing byte array stuff. Thank you. And then we get the amplitude. Get the amplitude real quick. The float equals float raw value take away 32768 divided by 32768.0. Just byte array stuff, that's what I call this. Local playback dot push frame. Then we want that as a vector 2. Yep. Amplitude and amplitude. Push that frame. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Local voice buffer. So remove at 0. We want to do that twice. Just for good luck, why not? Does he do that twice actually in the tutorial? Yeah, he does it twice. I'm not sure why, but we're going to do it twice as well. Who am I to say he's wrong? So then if it's network, well, if it's network, now we're going to handle it network styles. So decompressed voice, this is the same except it's network voice buffer. Network voice buffer, network voice buffer. Yup. And then I'm pretty sure this is the same as well. Get frames available, mini range. We need to make sure that this is actually the same. Or we're going to cook ourselves here. Raw value, is this all the same? Network playback, push frame. Yeah, this all looks exactly the same. So I'm just going to copy. Oh, local playback. Yeah, some of this stuff isn't the same though. That's the problem. So we just need to change this over. What do you mean local playback? Okay. Network playback. Thank you. Network playback, network playback. Local voice or buffer. So we need a network voice buffer. Yup. Need to make sure all of this is network. Network, network. Yup. I don't like to copy things, so you need to make sure that these are all network, network. Or network playback. Alright, cool. So that should work too now, just like that. And now the next thing we've got to do is go to the project settings and then type it's like microphone input, enable input. So then we've got to save and restart. So I'll just do that. Cool, so we're back. The next thing you've got to do is get rid of this null stuff here. So the local playback and the network playback we've actually got to set up in the ready. Otherwise we're going to get an error. So we just do that here. I think we do it at the top because it doesn't really matter. We've just got to make sure that it's running on every single system that it's on. So we need to do a couple of things. So if we have two of these, network playback. So no, we don't need that. All right. So prox local dot stream dot mix rate equals current sample rate. We've just got to do that first, and we'll do that to the network too. Prox network, yep. So and then on prox local we want to play. So we need to make sure that these audio players are actually playing. And then local playback equals prox local dot get stream playback. Yep, and then we need to do the stuff with the network as well. So we go prox network dot play, and then what's it called? Network playback dot prox local. No, prox network. Sorry. Dot get stream playback. Okay, I'll put in a dot in there instead. Get stream playback. Cool, beautiful. And I know that I said that we weren't going to use the loopback, but we're just going to try that now just for testing. So once we're in, we should just be able to hold down V and hear our voice. Host, test, 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 test. Cool, so that's coming through on mine. Test, 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 test. Test, 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 test. Test, test. Test, 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 test. So that's actually coming through the game when I hold down the V key. So that's called local loopback test, local loopback test, test. Cool. So now that we know that that works, it should be that the multiplayer works as well. So we're just going to test that. Going to export the game and we're going to see what happens. But first, I'm going to turn off local loopback because we don't want to hear that while we listen to someone else. Exporting the project. And then I'm just going to copy that to my laptop. Okay, now I've got the game up and running. We've got another user in the lobby, and I'm just going to mute myself and show you what it looks like. Test, 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 test. Got a lot of feedback coming through, but should be working. Test. Be working pretty good. Working all right. Oh, and I've just fallen down. I'm falling. All right, cool. So it works. That's how you do your voice chat in Godot. So if you like the tutorial, check out Unaccessible on Steam. Oh, support me directly. You can also join the Discord. Come hang out, ask me questions, and blah, 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 blah. And I'll probably put the full code to this on the Patreon eventually, which I'll have the link for in the comments. Anyway, thanks.